Across. How you doing, ladies? How you doing? Don't rush it, Mama Son. Don't rush it. It's a little slippery like that. All right. How you doing today? All right. All right. All right. Sound coming in too. Better be right here. You know how we do. You know how we do. You know how we do. How you doing, ladies? How you doing?
The judge looked Diddy right in the face right before handing him a 4-year sentence and said, "You will forever be associated with Cassie and Jane. You can't wash them away." This after his attorney spent hours defending his character. Brian Steele said Diddy is a leader, a civil rights leader. Talked about his success and how he's given back to his community. He talked about the charter schools that he started. They also said that he shouldn't be punished for being an addict and that he got addicted to painkillers after getting surgery. They said that everything has been taken away from him, his freedom, his businesses, his reputation destroyed. They even said the money is gone. But they say despite all the bad things he's done, he's still a good man and that he needs help with his anger and drug addiction. So then the defense went back and talked about when the prosecution said that he already has speaking engagements lined up. And they said, no, it's not speaking engagements. It's teaching engagement. In fact, he plans to be a motivational speaker of sorts, going from prison to program to help inspire people and use his own story of hitting rock bottom to show that you can pick yourself back up again. They said it's healing. Now, the prosecutor spoke one last time, saying that Diddy showed us exactly who he was when he didn't know the cameras were rolling in that hotel attack video. And then we heard for the first time from Diddy himself. When it was his turn to talk, he sat in the chair a little bit longer, flipping through the pages of what he wrote down, before he stood up in place and put his hand over his face, moved his hand and then said, "Thank you, Judge, for giving me the opportunity to speak for myself." He said the hardest part about this process was having to stay silent and not express how sorry he is. His voice was shaky and he was on the verge of tears. He offered an apology to Cassie, her family, and to Jane. He was wearing glasses, one of his crew neck sweaters, and he had a full beard. His hair was grown out too, still gray. He kept looking down at his paper and then back up at the judge. Fighting back tears, he said, "I got lost in excess and ego." He said, "I'm humbled and broken to my core. I hate myself right now." And then he turned around to the gallery and his voice gave out when he said, "I'm sorry, Mom. I failed you as a son." After Diddy was done, the judge called for a break. Now we are already 6.5 hours into this hearing. During the break, you could see that Diddy was antsy because it was time for the judge to sentence him. He was rubbing his face. He kept putting his hands in his face. It was time for the judge to speak, and he reiterated that Diddy was only being sentenced for the Mann Act convictions. But the judge made it clear that he was going to take into consideration everything he heard during the trial. He started off by saying, "Listen, Mr. Combs, I know your accomplishments, that you're self-made, that you're an inspiration to your community. I know about your accomplishments, your struggles, that you're a father, that you're struggling with drug addiction. I understand it all. However," and that's when the judge went off, saying the freak-offs were not just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He said, "You abused the power and control that you had over women that loved you." That I heard Cassie's testimony. I saw the text, the evidence, the bruises. I know that 2 women contemplated taking their lives because of you. That these are serious offenses and you've done irreparable damage to these women. That despite what the defense says about the prostitution charges, you are no John. You are more. He then said, "I understand multiple people have come to this court today to say you're a changed man." But he said, "Remember when you beat Jane when you were under investigation? And this was after Cassie's lawsuit and after the hotel attack video? You didn't seem remorseful then." He said, "Do you remember when you taunted her while you were beating her and said, 'Is this coercion?'" So with that, he said, "I want to send a message to victims and abusers that you will be held accountable," and then laid out that he will be sentenced to 50 months in prison. When the judge read the sentence, both Diddy and his family didn't express much emotion. It was a stark contrast to the excitement and the standing ovation that he received when he was acquitted of 3 of the most serious charges he was facing. At one point, when the judge was talking about Cassie's victim impact statement, Diddy just shook his head. The judge then thanked Cassie, saying, "I'm proud of you for coming here and saying what really happened." Leaving off with, "You stood up to power." The judge looked Diddy right in the face right before handing him a 4-year sentence.
I was not going to post another video today, but if I see one more post of someone inaccurately saying how much time Sean Combs is going to serve in the Bureau of Prisons, I'll make your hair pop off. It is not a complicated mathematical equation. In the federal system, he must serve 85% of his sentence provided he behaves. So, do some simple math. He was sentenced today by the judge to 50 months. 50. He must serve 85% of that. If you want to do the math at home, 50 times 0.85 comes up to be 42.5 months. Let's assume he has served 12.5 months. 12.5 minus 42.5 gets us to the 30-month threshold. That's what he is going to serve. There are 12 months in a year. 12 plus 12 is 24. Leaves us 6 left. That's 2.5 years. That's realistically what he's going to have to serve. 2, I know the defense team did a press conference at the end and they're very upset about that sentence. I don't think they are. I think they're patting themselves on the back because they did a damn good job. And here's why I say that. The probation department made the decision, and it wasn't just their decision, it was based upon the sentencing guideline, that the sentencing guideline range set out for Mr. Combs was 70 to 87 months. That is a level 27 on the sentencing guideline chart. That guideline chart is advisory, but judges usually go with it. They can go up if they feel as there is reason to go upward, or they can go down if they feel that there is sufficient mitigation. His team spent the entire day and the entire time since trial sending the court mitigation to convince them to go down. We've had a lot of sentencing, and judges rarely go below that sentencing guideline range unless there's a good reason. His defense team did an amazing job showing good reason, showing that there is something salvageable inside of this person, showing mitigation inside of her, showing he has no criminal record. They did a good job. Whether you like it or not, they did. And as a result, the judge went down 6 levels. I don't want to say it's unheard of, but that's a big deal. He went from a level 27 to a level 21, and that's where the judge came up with the 50 months, the time that he sentenced him to. That's a big deal. His defense team did a good job. I guarantee you who ain't happy is the government right now. They ain't happy about what happened. So that's what we're looking at. That's what's going on. That's the math. If you want to tell your friends, you can say, no, this is what he's actually looking at. Oh, and to finally put a cap on this for all of the people who told me that, well, the negativity, let's end it one last time. Diddy is going to jail.
What I find even more wild is you already only got 50 months to serve. And with time served, you only got about 3 years. And then with good behavior in federal, that knocks another 5-6 months off. This man about to only serve 2.5 years. His defense team is still trying to do a retrial, saying that they don't agree with the sentencing terms. This man has no remorse. He does not feel like he did anything wrong. I hope they retry this and he gets more time. Because how, bro? You literally are only serving 2.5 years in prison if you decide to behave well in prison. And you still don't agree with the terms. You still feel like you didn't commit a crime and that you should be walking free today. I can imagine what these victims went through with this narcissistic ass man. I can't. What I find even more wild.
Diddy was just sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison. But with time served, that'll be about 3 years that he will actually spend in prison. And the judge was not playing when he handed down Diddy's sentencing. He said it is clear that there was violence and coercion that he placed upon Cassie Ventura and Jane. He said the sentencing of time served just wouldn't cut it. History of good work cannot wash away the record in this case. You abused these women. You use that abuse to get your way, freak-offs and hotel nights. The evidence of abuse is massive. I was sitting right there during the testimony. This was subjugation. That is the reality of what happened. These offenses irreparably harmed 2 women. You plied them with substances. Why did this happen for so long? You had the power and resources to keep it going. You were more than just a John. A significant sentence is required to deter. You say that you're sorry and you won't do it again. After Miss Ventura's civil lawsuit was filed, after the video was public, and the investigation started, you had a brutal hotel night with Jane. Punched her in the head. Jane says you told her, take this pill, go out there, and suck this D. F him. I don't care. Court is not convinced that this would not happen again. The court has considered programs. They are outweighed by the trial record in this case. Exploitation and violence against women must be met with real accountability to promote respect for the law. The court reaches a few conclusions. 135 months would be more than necessary. A sentence over 11 years is not reasonable. Even the probation department recommends a sentence less than half of that. But 14 months time served would not be sufficient. Here the data shows a wide variety of sentences, weighing all relevant factors. The court determines that the sentence is 50 months of incarceration. And 50 months is 4 years and 2 months. So when you add Diddy's time served to that, he will spend about 3 years in jail. And that's as long as he doesn't have any good time that might get him out a little bit earlier. A lot of people are upset with this verdict, but I knew that it was going to fall in range with the probation department's findings. Judges always side with the probation department. And you have to remember, this is still a huge loss to Diddy, who thought that he was walking out today with time served. For someone like Diddy, who is a billionaire, either way, you are not going to want to spend 1 more minute in jail. And he made that very clear today. So even though a lot of people don't feel like justice was met, at the same time, Diddy still having to do 3 years in prison is a big deal. And I think that that's better than Diddy walking out today and getting time served. I'm glad that there is some accountability being held here, and he still does have to do years in prison. It has sure been a journey, guys, covering this whole Diddy trial, but let me tell you, I am so glad that it's over. But also,
by next year. If he don't get the RDAP, he'll be out in 2027. By next year. If he don't get the RDAP, he'll be out in 2027.
So Diddy is speaking, and this is what he's saying right now. The first time he's speaking, I do believe.
I know the disgusting video triggered people. I was sick. Sick from the drugs.
This is his excuse.
I needed help. But I didn't get the help. He goes on to say, I knew better. My faith taught me better. I'm not a larger than life person.
He's just sorry he got caught.
I'm just a human being. I'm trying my best. Goes on to say, I lost my freedom.
As you should have.
And the opportunity to raise my children and be there for my mother.
But you wasn't thinking about that when you was committing all
all
them crimes.
my businesses.
All your fault. I hate the commercials! Where's the
Got a
sound?
speaker out there. I hate myself right now. I've been stripped down to nothing. I want to apologize to my 7 children. I'm so sorry.
Imagine how your
You
victims
deserve
feel.
better. To my mother, I feel you taught me better. Another thing he said, CNN, domestic violence will always be a heavy burden that I will have to forever carry.
But is he really sorry? Is he really?
He goes on to say, I let down my community. I wanted to show we could take care of our own problems.
That's how you take care of your
I
problems?
got lost. He goes on to say, I'm not this bad person.
Other people would disagree.
I'm sorry to my community.
Are you though?
I let y'all down. People can change. I know I've changed.
So he's changed in 12 months. I doubt it.
He hasn't cried, but his voice was breaking down as he turned to his kids and apologized. And then he turned to his mother.
I do feel sorry for his kids.
According to CNN.
It's not his kids' fault. Their dad.
$50 and $500K is a hell of a way to end a weekend, to end a Friday at 5 p.m. Like, oh my God, now Diddy gotta go through the weekend and contemplate his life. So originally the prosecution had proposed or recommended 11 years, and the judge was like, I think 11 years or over 11 years is like overkill, but 14 months of time served is not enough. And I think that is good that the judge recommended that, because I really thought that time served was a possibility. The case that the prosecution presented was lazy. They could have did better. But honestly, I think Diddy is where he want to be, like around a bunch of men. And when he had came out like a few days ago, or maybe last week, with him saying that he teach a class about, I forgot what it was about, but he said that he teach a class, so magically he's better. Like, whoop-de-doo, Diddy. Okay, everybody done saw our class before. Bye. And y'all know Aubrey could not stay away for too long. Y'all, one of his kids in a statement had said that Diddy had taught them what a queen, Diddy taught them you should treat a woman like a queen, right? Why the hell Aubrey responded with this? I do think 11 years is a lot, but at the same time, I think 4 years is like, it's like, let me give him something just to shut y'all up, you know? 50 months and $500K.
Diddy Judge must be a G-Unit fan, because he just gave him 50 months. Diddy Judge must be a G-Unit fan, because he just gave him 50 months. Now listen, we know Diddy got 13 months in. So the judge said 50 months, that's about 4 years, okay? 4 years, that's not bad, okay? 4 years is some change. He got 13 months in. I say in about a year and a half, 2 years, with programming, he'll goddamn, you know what I'm saying, be on his way to a halfway house. Now, as far as what you had scheduled next week, Diddy, put that on the back burner, brother. You got to go back into chain gang. Huh? Now listen, this is way less than what prosecution asked. And honestly, I mean, coming home today was his best outcome. 4 years, bro, that's not bad. You got 13 months in. Hey, listen, lock in a car and goddamn ride it out, Diddy. Huh? You know what I mean. If you've been to jail, you know exactly what I mean. Diddy got to do some time, okay? Not as bad as what they was trying to push for, but hey, listen, at least now he get to go down state. It's federal time, so it's going to be a little bit easier than state time because you get around people who probably in there because they've been getting a little bit of money on. It's a little bit more civilized. Prayers go out to him and his family. Diddy, listen, do it on your head, baby boy, all right? This is concludes the Diddy Don, okay?
What type of bullshit is this? Diddy has finally been sentenced to serve 4 years in prison. And there were no cameras in the courtroom. So this is a courtroom sketch of apparently Diddy crying in the courtroom. Diddy was trying to apologize to the victims and the families and saying that he was on that stuff and that he should have knew better to get some help, but he didn't. He said, I know I can change. I just want a second chance. I want to be let out so I can be a leader in the community, a father, and I do not want to be made an example out of. But the courts were not buying it.
Diddy gets 5 years. What do we think? Well, you have to understand what happened at the sentencing. At the sentencing just now, what the judge did is they took his guidelines range for a Mann Act violation and they gave him an enhancement. Under the federal sentencing guidelines, your range can go up if you do things like if there's an element of coercion involved in the crime. The judge found that there was an element of coercion here. Now, it begs the question, this is the argument that's going to go up on appeal, how can you try somebody for sex trafficking, commercial sex using coercion, get acquitted on sex trafficking, commercial sex using coercion, and then get sentenced for the Mann Act prostitution charges with an enhancement for coercion? The bottom line is, one way to look at what happened here was the jury's verdict finding that there was no force, no coercion, got thrown out the window. Diddy gets 5 years. What do we think? Well, you have to understand.
This was the most important day of this case, and Combs did give a statement about 12 minutes long where he spoke directly to the court. He talked about being personally responsible and apologized for what happened with his ex-girlfriends, Cassie Ventura and Jane. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and he said moments ago, I want to personally apologize to all of the victims of domestic violence. He said, quote, I hate myself right now. I was stripped to nothing. And when it comes to that video of him beating Cassie, he said, I was sick on drugs. I was out of control. I needed help. I make no excuses. I knew better. But the judge had some very sharp words in response to Combs. He acknowledged that he is trying to do better and told him that he hopes that he continues that, but instantly went into rejecting attempts to characterize what happened as, quote, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. He said, you abused your power and control you had over women you claimed you had loved. You abused them emotionally and physically. He said the evidence was massive. I was sitting right here, he said. We read it and we saw it. Images of gashes and bruises and broken doors, and I saw it in the video. It was savage. This is according to the judge. This is some of the comments that he made just moments ago in court. Alice Gaynor from WCBS is in the courtroom right now and sending out notes just to give us a sense of what Combs' demeanor is like right now. What is his family reacting to? I also want to note something that the judge mentioned in reference to Jane. She went by the pseudonym Jane, but this was also an ex-girlfriend. He said he referred to the brutal assault of Jane by saying, you kicked down 5 doors in her home, lifted her off the floor by her neck, punched her, kicked her, dragged her by her hair, slapped her so hard she fell down. Jane, quote, her credibility testified to those things, that she was a credible witness. So some sharp words again from the judge who just handed down that sentence, 50 months in prison. There will be time served, we believe, in consideration of that. So considering that, it might actually be 4 years. I'm just looking at a note, sentence is 50 months of incarceration. Agnifilo, which is the lead attorney for Combs, asking for more time to list facility recommendations. Also supervised release, 5 years. No reaction from Combs. He is still sitting. And there's a $500,000 fine. You can see behind me a little bit the crowd that has been gathered here pretty much all day as the family have been in and out of that courtroom. When I asked a couple of the defense attorneys how they were feeling today, they didn't have a comment. This day was very serious. They knew that going in. Not long ago in July, when it was that split verdict, they said this was a win for Combs. But the second part of that, the most important part of that, is the sentencing happening today. Again, the judge sentencing him to 50 months behind bars. This was the most important day of this case.
When it's real feelings hard to conceal. Can't imagine all the pain I feel. Give anything to hear it happen, grab you.
There's only 5 individuals, man! You sign up!
4 fucking years, that's all he gets? He gets 4 years. You know what? I'm going to take it because he could have got off on everything. But he gets 4 years in prison, which means by the time his ass gets out of jail, he going to be pushing 60. You know what I hope? There are a bunch of civil lawsuits coming up, okay? There are a lot of civil lawsuits behind this damn sentencing. So you know what I hope happens? I hope they break his fucking bank. Yep. I hope he does not have a penny to his name when he walks out that fucking jail cell, okay? To Cassie, I am so sorry. This man did not get the book thrown at him like he should have gotten. He should have gotten more than this. But there's going to be a lot of women and a lot of men that's going to say this is unfair. And there's going to be people that's going to work with Diddy after he gets out of jail. And please make sure if y'all see anybody that collabs with this man after he gets out, make sure they know that they are collabing with a man that beats women. Okay? That is violent towards women. And all of a sudden, he saw God because he can't live with himself because he would not know what to do if that happened to his daughters. Your daughters were born when you was doing this shit. And then his son's talking about, he taught me how to treat women. Oh, really? So y'all up next. Baby,
Patriot Secret Service Sam here, just coming out of Daniel Patrick Moynihan for what could be the last time. It was a bit of a shock. Good Lord, all the speeches. Judge Arun Subramanian, it was like a reality show where he's like, Diddy, you've done all these wonderful things for the community. Yeah, you have your rehabilitation program, you got your free Diddy game, all this stuff. However, the howevers and the buts is what kills him. He talks about the severity of these offenses, the severity of what happened to Cassie and Jane. And so he didn't take the recommended 135 months, but the probation recommended 60 months. He ended up giving Diddy 50 months, 50 Patriots. That is 5 years. Now, people are telling me inside that with his good behavior, that's a year off. With his programs he's doing, that's a year off. And time served, that is 13 months. So we're actually looking at probably about 1.5 to 2.5 years that the diddler will actually serve. I want to thank you guys for this whole entire time. I got to thank my wife for letting me do this. But mostly you guys, thank all of you out.
I don't got my glasses on. I know free Diddy, man. Damn.
Baby, I'm finna delete all them videos of me talking shit about Diddy. They just sentenced Diddy to 4 years up in prison. And baby, if y'all know anything about federal prison, he ain't finna do shit but 2 because he already got time served. And then he going to the motherfucking halfway house for a couple of months. He finna be up out of there. And if y'all think this bitch finna come get me and anything dealing with no baby y'all, bitch, please. Y'all should have known that, baby. Anything with some money, they getting up out of jail. Quick, fast, in a motherfucking hurry. All you need is some money and a good-ass lawyer. And if y'all don't want no bullshit happening to y'all better delete all that shit y'all said about him. Because, baby, I know I'm finna go on a delete spree, baby. Because I acted a motherfucking fool about Diddy. I talked about the trafficking, the being gay, everything you could think of. And with that being said, I don't want no smoke with nothing. No smoke with nobody. It's gonna take me a little minute because I made a couple videos, but when I'm done, I'll be back on this bitch. I'm gonna let y'all know when I finish. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this man getting 4 years. Baby, I'm finna delete all them videos.
They gave Diddy 4 years. God damn. They ran that nigga through the coals, you hear me? They made Diddy a goddamn example. Basically, he got sentenced for the ass whooping video. He got acquitted of all the crazy shit and just the prostitution, which he wasn't prostituting. He was just nasty. And they still get that motherfucker. He got 4 years because who he is. He got 4 years for being P goddamn Diddy. You hear me? Shit. We won't see you for a while, player. That man, children, his mom and everything tried to pick him. Don't make no difference. They just kept showing that one video of him kicking Cassie ass. They say they sentencing him for all the women of domestic violence. I know niggas today that done beat the shit out of a goddamn woman out freer than a motherfucker. Diddy taking their charge too. I don't know how to feel about this, but they gave that nigga 4 years. 4 motherfucking years. But he already done served like 13. So he'll probably do like 3 years. Maybe 3 and some change. Either way, it's gonna be the future. But like 2031, that just sounds like the future, don't it? And Cassie's letter didn't help work a damn. She said she felt like if he got out, he was gonna go after her. I feel like that's a goddamn lie. As soon as that motherfucker would have got out, he would have went straight to the hair salon. Get that shit back black. He had some speaking engagements set up and everything. He wasn't worried about her. I think that was some bullshit. Cause that nigga still got money, huh? He wasn't gonna find that bitch no more after this. He don't stay away from my ass. But yeah, I feel like Cassie set that shit in stone. She set it off, and it was over. She started this shit, and she finished it. Don't put your hands on no goddamn girl, boy. We'll get you. It's hard for me to feel justice was. They gave Diddy 4 years.
So today is...
You gotta remember this also includes the 1 year plus he already served. So Diddy's getting out in 3 years. He'll be out in 2028. Y'all better hide y'all booty holes. You gotta remember this.
So there's still a lot of questions surrounding why Diddy was only sentenced to 4 years in prison. Well, I want to break it down a little bit. That way you guys can kind of understand exactly what happened. During this court hearing today for Diddy's sentencing, and before this even happened, Diddy has put this judge on notice that he is going to file an appeal. So just know that is coming. But I will say usually appeals aren't unsuccessful. And what the judge did kind of seals that in. I was talking about this for the past couple of days that I felt like Diddy's sentencing from the judge was going to fall in the guidelines of the probation department. And their findings were 70 to 87 months in prison, and the judge still went a little bit lower than that. And the reasons why the judges usually side with the probation department is because they're a neutral party. So you have the prosecution that usually asks for too much time based on the guideline ranges, and then you have the defendants asking for too little time based on what they're being charged with. Diddy's 2 charges under the Mann Act really don't carry that significant of time. But the judge and even the probation department agreed that they believe that Diddy should have enhancement added to make it a longer sentence. And that was because all of the violence that was shown in the trial. And Diddy kept trying to argue, well, this is acquitted conduct, but not necessarily was that acquitted conduct, because like a lot of you guys were yelling through the whole trial, Diddy was never charged with domestic violence. So the judge determined a more strict sentencing on Diddy where he gave him 50 months based on the violence that was shown throughout this trial. If it wasn't for that, Diddy wouldn't have even got that much time. If you also note, he stayed consistent with the probation department's findings and even a little bit under. That way, in case Diddy appeals it, it's not going to go anywhere. The judge technically can do what he wants, but at the same time, he can't just come out swinging like, yes, I'm going to give him 11 years like what the prosecution is wanting if it's going to turn around and be appealed, because then he could risk getting in trouble himself. So the sentence of 50 months that the judge just gave Diddy, yes, was way more than what the normal charges would carry. But also, he made sure he stayed in a line. That way, when Diddy appeals, like I said, he's put him on notice that he's going to, it's not going to cause an issue, and Diddy's pretty much stuck with this sentence. Other big question that I see people asking me, well, how much time will Diddy sit if he was sentenced to 4 years and 2 months? I'm about to break it all down. Diddy first went to jail September 16th of 2024, which means he's been in there for a year and a couple weeks. So if you subtract that time from 4 years and 2 months, that equals about 3 years and let's just say a month. But in federal prison, you have to serve about 85% of your time and you could get good time credits. Which means at the end, Diddy is looking at a little over 2.5 years that he would have to sit even if he's granted good time. And let me say once again, that's if he is granted good time. You don't have generalized backgrounds of what's actually happening when these sentencings occur. It might feel like Diddy is getting off. We all know that he was found not guilty of some of the most serious charges. Honestly, this sentence that he handed down to Diddy is not good for Diddy, and it definitely represented the victims that were hurt because of Diddy. I know a lot of people are like, well, he could have got 11 years, but you have to understand the prosecution will push it out as far as possible, the same way Diddy was like, I'm gonna get out today. What the judge did was actually hold Diddy accountable for what he did to these women, because usually 2 Mann Act charges do not carry that amount of time. And he only came up with this much of a sentence because all of the violence that was shown throughout this trial. So technically, Diddy got more time than what somebody would if they got charged with the Mann Act convictions. At the same time, this judge was smart to make sure that he wasn't pushing it too far, because if he did, he knows Diddy is about to appeal it. Yes, Diddy's victims did get some justice today, and it's one that they wouldn't normally get if it wasn't for all this violence shown throughout this trial. Mind you, this is the same exact violence that Diddy was bragging about in trial. I didn't traffic anyone, it's just domestic violence.
I got breaking news, guys. It may have not been the news.
Finally, P. Diddy has been sentenced, and you will never guess what he told the judge as the judge read him his grim sentencing. He said, I have been humbled and broken to my core. Yes, he said that. The judge sentenced P. Diddy to 50 months in prison. They are going to deduct the 12 months he's already served. So basically, he only has 3 more years left to serve in prison instead of 4. He was also fined the maximum penalty by the law, which is $500,000. I don't know if those fines go to victims and their families or how that works, but he was definitely fined the maximum $500,000. And trust me, that judge didn't like P. Diddy at all, like a lot of people don't. And he probably would have charged him $5 million in restitution or fines if he could have. But this is the sentencing, you guys. P. Diddy had a expressionless look on his face as the judge read that sentencing. I think he thought he would get a lot less sentence or even be released, because a lot of people in power and a lot of people who have that type of money believe they are above the law. Do you think that P. Diddy got a fair sentence?
The day has been emotional and intense as we awaited to hear the punishment for Sean Diddy Combs. Just moments ago, the judge handed down that punishment, saying that Sean Diddy Combs should serve 4 years and 2 months behind bars for the convictions of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, prior to the judge handing down that sentence, Sean Combs addressed Your Honor. He spoke to him directly, saying, no matter what anyone says, Your Honor, I am sorry for what I did. He also apologized to Cassie Ventura as well as Jane, saying that he is sorry for everything that he did to them, saying that he is sorry for getting them involved in his mess. But emotional and intense as his children also spoke, Judge Ashley and Michael. They addressed the court on Sean Diddy Combs' behalf, having a very hard time with their remarks, breaking down at times. As they spoke, Sean Combs put his head into his hands, then placed his head down on his knees because he was having a hard time composing himself as his one daughter in particular spoke. So that was quite emotional during the court proceedings today. This hearing lasted an entire day with us hearing from several of Sean Diddy Combs' attorneys. We put up now some of the information that Sean Combs shared with the judge. This was prior to him actually giving his statement in allocution. He put forth a memo in which he talked about what he was going to say today. He expounded on that quite a bit and was quite emotional as he delivered his remarks to the jury. At one point, he turned around, spoke directly to his children, telling them that I failed you. He was very emotional when he said that to them, then also addressed his mother. At this point, there was really not a dry eye, at least from many of the supporters and family members of Sean Diddy Combs, because he said to his mother, I am sorry. And we even heard his mother reply back, I'm sorry. So that was pretty intense inside the courtroom, to say the least. Everyone was wondering what this sentence would be. The prosecutor put forth an idea, the sentencing recommendation of 11 years and 3 months. The judge addressed that, saying that would be too much, that he is not supposed to impose a sentence that is more than necessary to serve the purpose of sentencing. So he said that was going to be too much. On the other side of that, defense counsel put forth a sentencing recommendation of only 14 months. The judge also addressed that, saying that also was not enough because defense counsel did not take into account any of the aggravating factors in this case. When the judge was imposing the sentence, he took one of the text messages as well as something else that Sean Diddy Combs said to Jane, and he read that aloud. This was from the trial transcript. It contains a lot of vulgar language, so to hear the judge recite that kind of language in court as he was imposing the sentence, it was pretty startling, and the language that was used, but he was just repeating exactly what Sean Combs said per the transcript that he said to Jane, and it said, Sean Combs said to Jane, does this feel like coercion? That word coercion is extremely important because the judge used that today, saying coercion does apply. Defense counsel had objected to the use of the word coercion, the idea that that would be used to enhance the sentence. The judge disagreed with that, saying he will be using coercion because that's what Sean Combs did with his victim. So very interesting developments here outside the courthouse here, federal court in Lower Manhattan, as we learned how many years Sean Combs will spend behind bars. So keep in mind, he was arrested last September. And so he has already served a year and about a month behind bars. So this sentence, 4 years and 2 months. So in total time, if we consider time served, he will only be looking at a sentence of about 3 years now behind bars. The total sentence, though, is 4 years and 2 months. But because of time served, we're looking at about 3 years.
Oh, Kelly, I have some questions. One of my questions.
Breaking news. A shocking scene unfolded outside Manhattan Breaking news. A shocking scene unfolded outside Manhattan federal court this morning. Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs was shot.
Free Diddy, man. They just gave my boy 4 years.
$50 months, that's it. That's the sentence that the judge just handed down to Diddy. Our justice system is completely fucked. So after the judge came down hard on him, after the judge said that what you did was incomprehensible, like I sat here and watched these women literally cry on the stand for the horrible things that you did to them. That we cannot deny that, yes, you may have done good things behind bars, but you've apologized after the Cassie video, you apologized after the issue with Jade, and yet we found you the day that you were literally arrested having another freak off, which means your apology really means nothing. And he even said, well, the prosecution is suggesting 11 years, which is a reasonable amount of time, but probation, I guess, was saying that it was only less than half of that. But when the judge calculated it all, he only came up with 50 months, which is 4 years and 1 month. And well, Diddy's already served almost 13 months behind bars. Honestly, at this point, my heart goes out to every single one of the victims because 4 years and 1 month is a big slap in the face to everything that they had to put up with and everything that they had to endure. And I disagree with it. But listen, what can we do about it? So there we have it, I guess.
Diddy's been found guilty. He didn't get found guilty on everything, but he's been found guilty on multiple charges. Anyways, at the hearing today. Diddy, come on out. It's Diddy, it's 30% man.
Are you surprised to hear from me? No. What's going on?
As you watch the clip that I'm about to show you, remember the charges that
I am returning. Money, my neighbor.
This episode right here is the second that I knew that Diddy took advantage of.
Y'all hit the like and subscribe button.
Okay, the judge has sentenced Sean Combs to 50 months of incarceration or just over 4 years. That is the sentence that has just been given to Sean Combs, 50 months, just over 4 years. So that is our first word from the court.
I'm gonna go to Vegas with you, Randy. When are we leaving? I'm going right now. That's exactly what you said, but...
Cent continues to prove over and over again that he truly is the worst person to beef with, as he has already gone on to troll Diddy after finding out that he was sentenced to over 4 years in prison. That's right, man. So in case you have not heard, Diddy was actually just sentenced to over 50 months in prison. That is over 4 years total, with him also receiving an over $500,000 fine. And well, 50 Cent would waste no time, as he would immediately go on to troll Diddy on Instagram. Right behind me, you can see what 50 Cent ended up posting, and it's actually a sketch from the Diddy trial. The sketches of Diddy crying during his sentence earlier today. And 50 Cent goes on to caption the picture, "Hey, to whoever was booking Diddy to speak over the weekend, I'm free." He is referencing the fact that Diddy was so confident that he was getting out today that he actually had multiple events planned for next week. Him allegedly having multiple speaking events planned in Miami. And well, since Diddy is clearly not making it, 50 Cent made it very clear that he is fully available. I just know
Summarian. I've had an ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He's very dangerous. Multiple times I have feared ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He's very dangerous. Multiple times I have feared for my life. I think you should consider the safety of the general public, Your Honor, before unleashing him upon them. There hasn't been enough time for him to reform or make any adjustments, despite his trying to teach a class in there. This is how you know he actually wrote this. This is bad grammar. Despite him trying to teach a class in there. As you're already aware, the government has spent maximum amount of money on deploying federal agencies, which appear to be an army, in 2 locations simultaneously. Later, his sons, who's dealing with his own R-word allegations, claimed that the feds had hit the wrong house. Anyway, Diddy's only going to return to hire more male sex workers and keep most of the baby oil away from the general public and babies needed. My Netflix doc on this scandalous subject is coming soon. Now, this is a little bit of trolling, chat, but I can't lie to you. It's a little bit of trolling mixed with, I think, wishful thinking. It's no way that you don't care about Diddy being in jail and you write this letter. You're bringing things to his attention. Oh, his sons mentioned that despite the efforts of the government to raid his houses to look for evidence that was unsuccessful in convicting him of sex trafficking and also RICO, his sons had said, y'all never hit another house. So this is like dirty macking. I gotta be honest with you.
You know that one person Diddy hates to see coming is 50 Cent, because I think he will forever stay trolling Diddy for the rest of his life. Already knew that 50 Cent was going to post something about Diddy's sentencing hearing coming up tomorrow. He was not about to cut him no slack. He took to Instagram and wrote a fake letter to the judge on why he believes that Diddy should stay locked up, so let's get into it. His caption to this post is, "This is my letter to the judge on the Diddy case. What? I'm scared for my life." Because if you remember, during the trial, it was brought up that Diddy allegedly wanted to unalive 50 Cent. Most of us know there is another connection here between somebody and 50 Cent that testified against Diddy. 50 Cent was brought up quite a few times during Diddy's trial. 50 Cent says, "Dear Judge Sumeranian, I have had an ongoing dispute with Puffy for over 20 years. He is very dangerous. Multiple times I have feared for my life. I think you should consider the safety of the general public, Your Honor, before unleashing him upon them. There hasn't been enough time for him to reform or make any adjustments, despite him trying to teach a class in there. As you're already aware, the government has spent the maximum amount of money on deploying federal agencies, which appeared to be an army in 2 locations simultaneously. Later, his son, dealing with his own R-word allegations, claimed that the feds had hit the wrong house. Anyways, Diddy is only going to return to hiring more male workers and keeping the most baby oil away from the general public. And babies need it." No! He said keeping the baby oil away from the general public and babies need it. I cannot with him. My Netflix doc on this scandalous subject is coming soon. And I've been so wrapped up in everything, I literally forgot about his documentary, because where is it at, 50?
He said, so 50 they came out and penned a letter to the judge and Diddy case because he feared for his, he's an ass. So he was like, I have.
50 Cent posted a letter.
Oh boy.
He said, "Dear Judge Sumeranian,
50 Cent, please. Please, not right now." For those of you who may not know, Sean Diddy Combs, the hip-hop mogul, is currently awaiting sentencing after his recent trial against the United States government. While he's awaiting his sentencing, there have been a bunch of celebrities who have written letters both in favor and against him, one of them being Cassie Ventura, an ex of his and one of his victims, and another one of his exes who claims that she was being coerced by the DA to make herself feel like a victim even though she wasn't, and I'll get into their letters in another video. But 50 Cent posted this letter on